So it's going live on YouTube. Let me just make sure. As I said, I muted it. I've become way more tech savvy than I probably ever wanted to become. Okay, we're recording. So good evening, everyone. This is attorney Robyn McCoy with Robyn Legal, and we have our special honored guest, President CK Hoffler, who is the National Bar Association's president. So welcome, CK. I was excited to have you join me. I'm vice president for Black women lawyers in Michigan. We have our elections coming up. Actually, this Sunday, I'll be running for president. But I really wanted to have you come and interview you, and we'll put this on our Black women lawyers, like our Facebook page and our Michigan Women of Color page, because just having met you in New York at the National Bar and looking at your profile, your background is just very inspirational to me. And I'm like, I know there's some other sisters in the law that would love to hear from you about your story and your passion. So welcome.
Well, thank you. And Robyn, it is great to be here. It's great. Even though we are sharing this experience via Zoom or on YouTube, I am just delighted that we're having this interaction, that we're able to talk, because it's been a while since I've seen you. It's been probably 2 years, 2.5 years since New York of 2019.
Right.
New York in 2019, July of 2019. So it's been over 2 years, really.
It has. And I mean, I did do the NBA like virtual last year, but yeah, it's definitely, this is different. This is the unique experience with everything. It's definitely, I had talked to my webmaster, shout out to Kyle. He's my guy who helps me with my website and all my tech support and all that, about how I wanted to be kind of more tech savvy, but never could I have imagined that I would be at the point where I am now. Like, I had talked to my webmaster. So you can hear. See, I'm sharing what we're doing right now on, I'm having it on the YouTube and I'm about to put it on the Facebook, but never would I imagine I would be this tech savvy where I'm doing YouTube.
I'm impressed.
I'm doing YouTubes and I'm doing, I'm like, wait, this would have been for him to do, but now it's like, no, because you got to be safe. So I'm doing YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of that. So for the audience, I want to start out with your bio. So you're a seasoned trial attorney and CEO of the CK Hoffler firm, which is a trilingual law firm, English, Spanish, French. Je parle français, le français c'est bien. And hola, hablo un poco en español. I took a semester of Spanish, but I lived in France. So, okay. So based in Atlanta, Georgia. And she specializes in commercial litigation, opioid litigation, catastrophic injury, civil rights, global commercial transactions, medical negligence, wrongful death, and employment cases. Ms. Hoffler is licensed in Georgia, Florida, Virginia, DC, and Pennsylvania. To date, CK Hoffler and her teams have tried or settled cases totaling over $800 million. An accomplished attorney, Ms. Hoffler was previously a partner at Edmund, Lindsay and Hoffler, LLP, and a partner at the Willie Gary Law Firm in Florida, where she ran the commercial and international litigation practice for 13 years. So she's also counsel to civil rights icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and has represented him and the Rainbow Push and Wall Street Project for the past 30 years. Ms. Hoffler also lectures extensively on trial and best practices strategies to legal professionals and young lawyers across the nation. On July 29, 2020, Ms. Hoffler was sworn in as president of the National Bar Association. She's received her JD from Georgetown University, BA from Smith College, and studied at Collège du Le Mans, University of Geneva in Switzerland, and Banksome Hall in Canada. She speaks French fluently and is proficient in Spanish and Portuguese. She holds a number of honors and awards for her achievements in law and is active in her community. So you can visit her website, www.ckhofflerfirm.com. So again, welcome, CK. So you obviously know you have an amazing background. And so first question I have for the audience is, what inspired you to become an attorney?
First of all, that's a great question. And thank you, Robyn, that was a great introduction. And for just, asking me to be on today and to join your audience. What inspired me to be an attorney is I wanted to have a voice. I knew at an early age that there was something in me that just felt that I needed to speak. Today, I would say speak truth to power. Back then, I didn't know to use that expression, but I felt that I could be an advocate for folks, for people who had no voice. And I knew that at a young age. So when I was in 10th grade, I did work for a law firm over the summer. I had 3 or 4 jobs, and one of them was to work at a law firm, and just to get the experience, because I felt that advocacy and practicing law, and I really thought I might pursue an international career at that point, would be the way to go for me. So that's where it got started.
Okay, that's where it got started. Yeah, because I was 14. I mean, for me, as I mentioned off the record that my father is a lawyer, and I was 14. I had wanted to be an actress. And see, you probably would remember Dynasty. Like, I watched Dynasty with Joan Collins and Diane Carroll. I wanted to be an actress. I'm like, I'm going to act. And then my parents raised me to be socially conscious. I'm here in Ann Arbor, and we practice in Ann Arbor and Detroit. And I decided I wanted to become a lawyer. And I said I would act in the courtroom to help liberate the brothers in the system. And so that's what in November, it'll be 20 years for me and 40 years for my dad.
Congratulations. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And so you said you were in the 10th grade, you worked at a firm, and you said you had the interest early on to do the international law.
I did. I have an older brother, a late brother, who passed away a few years ago, who was a lawyer. So I did have a role model. I was familiar, had met lawyers over the course of my life. But for me personally, I think I was inspired in the 10th grade, because when I worked in a law firm, I said, there were things that I thought that I could do well. But the most important thing was interacting with people. I've always loved people. And I always had a soft spot for people who had no voice, or people who people looked down on, because I felt that that was never right. And I just felt that if God gave me the ability to speak and be an advocate, that's what I was going to do, because I felt I was given much opportunity, and I was very involved in theater as well, as many lawyers were. And I didn't want to pursue a career in theater, but I felt that that would help me tremendously with being a lawyer, because my perception of a lawyer back then was in a courtroom. We saw movies, we saw, shows like Perry Mason and all that. And that was my perception of what a lawyer did. Well, of course, that's a false perception, but only a certain segment of lawyers do trial work. And even a smaller group of lawyers actually go to trial. So it's, fiction, and just ideally, I was thinking that I just wanted to be an advocate, whether I went into court, whether I was helping people. And I just figured that if people had no voice, and most of those people looked like us, that I could help bridge that gap. And that's what really caused me to have passion about being a lawyer, was being able to give voice to those who had no voice. Because, by the way, there are many people who are very close to me, have been close to me my whole life, who had no voice. And so I just felt it would be tremendous if I could give voice to them.
Okay, and then let's start with the international law. And I mean, you've doing that, and you've lived in some exciting places. So what was that like, going in and doing the international law practice?
For me, it was just a natural progression of how I was raised. I went to school overseas. I went to school in Switzerland from grades 1 to 8, grades 9 to 13. I went to school in Canada, in Toronto, Canada. And then I came to the US to go to college. And so for me, I had a lot of familiarity, was very comfortable in an international environment. So as I progressed through law school, I went to Georgetown because I wanted to be in DC, and I wanted to be at a school that had a robust international program. And Georgetown had a robust, and still has a robust, international program. So that's how I tailored my decision of what law school to go to. And in the process, I started working after my first year of law school with a huge firm in Washington, DC, in the Washington office. And I did a lot of work. I worked with them throughout law school, and then I got an offer to go with them permanently once I graduated. But I also, during my second summer, worked at the World Bank in their legal department. as an intern. And honestly, it's a good thing that I did that, because up until that point, I thought that law was just a stepping stone for me to pursue what I thought was a career as a diplomat, work for the UN, work at the World Bank, work at the IMF, all of those things, or live overseas, maybe be an ambassador. That was sort of my dream. And when I worked at the World Bank, as I saw that when you are in an organization, a phenomenal international organization like the World Bank, as a lawyer, you're a staff attorney. You're not the main event. You're a staff attorney, and you are serving the interests and the needs of the economists and people on the finance side globally as an attorney, reviewing contracts and all that kind of stuff. And I felt, while that was interesting, that probably was not where my passion lied. So I took the job at the law firm I clerked with throughout the summer and throughout law school. And that's where I began my journey doing international work, because they had a big international practice. There was an African-American partner who was the managing partner of the Washington, D.C. office. He happened to have a robust international practice. And that's where I began representing foreign governments. And because of my language skills, I was able to travel extensively to work on behalf of foreign governments on the African continent, in the Caribbean. I also did some work for some European countries. And so that really is where my journey began, doing international work. And it just continued, went on and on and on and on. I met Reverend Jackson as a practitioner. I think when Reverend Jackson was running, and you weren't alive at this time, I know you weren't, but in 1984, you were not alive. Rob, you were not alive. And if you believe what I say about my age, I theoretically wasn't alive. But in 1984, Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, ran for president. He ran again in 1988. He sparked a movement. And in 1988, I had met him on the campaign trail, and I was in Washington, D.C., and law school in D.C., and all of us wanted to work and really be involved, many of us, that campaign. And so in 1988, the firm that I was at, Reverend Jackson had been invited by one of our clients, which was the Gabonese government. Gabon is a small Central African country, to come to Africa. And this is when the term African American was just sort of taking hold. And so the president invited Reverend Jackson to come and speak in Gabon. And that was a project that was assigned to me because I spoke French fluently. So I worked on that. I interfaced with Reverend Jackson's people. And sure enough, about, 8 months or 9 months into my practice, a delegation, Reverend Jackson and his delegation, traveled to Libreville, Gabon. Hello?